here. So in order to combine like terms, we have to know what a term is. What can we combine together? What are like terms? So this is why I said get in the habit of always writing your number in front of your variable, because that's just the way it's always going to be written for you. Okay? So we've got different parts of an expression. We have what we call variable terms, and we have what are called constant terms. It tells us a variable term are terms with a variable, and it tells us constant terms are terms without a variable. So out of these numbers, examples, terms right here, somebody tell me what's one variable term. Hayden?
14x.
Perfect. Riley, give me another.
2x.
Good, and the only thing I'm going to add to the 2x is a, what's in front of it?
Negative.
That minus sign is a negative sign, so we're going to write a negative 2x. So the 14's a positive, so I'm going to leave it a positive. That 2x is a negative with that minus sign, so I'm going to keep that negative sign with it. Cooper?
Negative 5x.
Negative 5x. Okay, so then constant terms, terms without a variable. So Kansas, give me one. 9. Autumn, give me another.
8.
Max?
1.
Does that make sense, the difference between the two? Now, what do you think? Do you guys think we can combine a variable term with a constant term? No. They're separated for a reason. We can't combine variable terms with constant terms. They're two separate terms. Okay, so that's something we'll talk about in a minute. Last thing we need to know is coefficients, which it says, are they what?
Number next to a variable.
So remember how I said always have that number in front of your variable? That's because it's called a coefficient. It has a very specific name in math. So my coefficient to 14x is what? 14. My coefficient to negative 2x is?
Negative 2.
And my coefficient to negative 5x is?
Negative 5.
So being able to identify your variable terms, your constant terms, your coefficients will help you to combine like terms. So we're only going to do a few problems today, and then we'll do the rest tomorrow. So if I look at number 1, variable terms. There may be 1, there may be more than 1, there may be 0. What are my variable terms? 11a and 4a. And you can just write them with commas between them. What about constant terms? There is none, so I'm just going to put a dash through it. There are none, put a dash, put a line, write none, do something. What are my coefficients? Good. Okay, number 2. What are my variable terms?
3x and 7x.
Good. 3x and 7x. What are my constant terms?
6 and negative 4.
Good. It's a negative 4 because it says minus 4. So make sure you keep that minus sign as a negative sign. And then my coefficients are 3 and 7. Number 3. What are my variable terms?
Negative 12m and 4m.
Negative 12m and 4m. What are my constant terms?
Negative 3 and 16.
And my coefficients?
Negative 12 and 4.
Okay, we're going to skip all the way down to number 9. What are my variable terms?
8a, 7.
Negative 2b, and 3a.
What's my constant term?
1.
And what are my coefficients?
8, negative 7, negative 2, 3.
Is that making sense, guys? The difference between constants, variable terms, and coefficients? So everything, when we talk about combining like terms, is broken up by addition signs and minus signs. Okay? There's no multiplication, there's no division. Is that understood? It's all broken up by pluses and minuses, or your positives and your negatives. So when we combine like terms, let's go to the next page. We'll come back to the rest of that tomorrow. This is what I want to focus on. Right here up at the top it tells us, combining like terms. You can simplify an algebraic expression by combining like terms. This means to combine common variable terms and common constant terms. So, could I combine 11a and 4a? Yes, because they are the same term. Could I combine 3x and 6? No, because their variable terms are separate from your constant terms. You cannot combine them together. If I go down to number 9, there we go. Could I combine 8a and negative 2b? No, because are a and b the same? They're different variables. So you can't combine two variables that are not the same. Those are two different variable terms. Even though they're both variable terms, they're different variable terms. Does that make sense? So if I go back to this pink page, and we look up at the top here, everyone grab like your checking pen or something. Grab some sort of color. Or colors. Grab like 2 to 3 colors, if you have them. Okay, so I do not want this really big long expression, the 14x plus 9 minus 2x plus 8 minus 5x plus 1. I don't want it. That's way too long. I want to simplify. So that's why they say to simplify, because you're not solving it, you're simplifying it to make it smaller. Okay, so my first term is what? 14x. So I'm going to take one of my colors and I'm going to box in that 14x. Now I'm going to box in anything that is the exact same term as 14x. So is 9 the same? No. Is negative minus 2x the same? Yes. So I'm going to box in that minus 2x because 14x and minus 2x are the same. The coefficients are different. That's okay. They both have an x. Is plus 8 the same? No. Is minus 5x the same? Yes. So I'm going to box in that minus 5x. Those three terms I can combine together, and you do that with your coefficients. So it says 14x minus 2x. Well, think about it this way. If I have 14 x's written on the board, and I take 2 x's away, how many do I have left? 12. I have how many x's left? 12. So I'm at 12x right now. Does that make sense, everyone? 14 minus 2 is 12. Then what am I going to do? Minus 5. So now I have 12 x's. I take 5 x's away. How many am I left with? 7. So I have 7x. So do you see how all I do is add or subtract the coefficients together, keep the x. Don't do anything with it. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, I'm going to grab a different color, and I'm going to box in my next term, or underline it, or do a triangle. I don't really care what you do. Okay, but what's my next term? 9. So I'm going to box in that plus 9, because the plus goes with it. I got to keep that sign in front. What's the same as plus 9? Plus 8, so I'm going to box that in. Anything else the same? So I'm going to box that in. Now those are numbers, so that should hopefully be easy, right guys? Yeah. 9 plus 8 is? 17 plus 1 is? 18. Now is that a positive 18 or is that a negative 18? Positive. So plus sign or minus sign? So my simplified expression is 7x plus 18. That's it. That's all we're doing. You can't solve for x. You can't go any further because we don't know anything else. That's it. Okay, so let's look at number 11. Obviously pretty simple here. What's the first term I should box in? Box in that 4x. What's the same as 4x? Plus 7x. Don't forget to box in that plus sign. So 4x plus 7x is?
11.
So your answer is 11x. Okay, if we go to number 13. What's the first term I need to box in? So I'm going to box in 6c. What's the same? What can I combine with 6c?
11.
Don't forget to box in that plus sign, because that tells you whether you're adding or subtracting. Well, what is 6c plus 11c, everyone?
17.
What's the next term I should box in?
Plus 1.
Now, is there any term that goes with that plus 1?
No.
So, what should my answer say?
17 plus 1.
Good, I'm just going to bring that plus 1 with it. I can't do anything to it, but I can't leave it out. Go to number 17. What's the first term that I should box in?
9v.
What, everyone?
9v.
What's the next term I should box in?
Negative 3v.
Anything else?
Negative v.
That negative v still goes with it. So it says 9v minus 3v. What's 9v minus 3v?
6v.
Now, I have 6v minus v. What does v mean?
4.
Variable.
What number's there?
1.
A 1, because we always have a 1 in front of every single variable. So this is like saying there is a 1 right in front of that v. You will never ever have to see it, but it is always, always there. That's one of those invisible math rules. That's the orange sign in the middle and the green sign up at the top. There's always a 1 there. Always, always. So what is 6v minus v, everyone?
5v.
5v. And what's my next term?
Plus 7.
So 5v, what's the rest of my answer?
Plus 7.
Very good. Okay, let's look at number 19. What's the first term I should box in?
Negative 14w.
What do I box in after negative 14w?
Plus 10w.
And what do I box in after 10w?
Plus 2w.
Here's where we have to remember our integer rules. The first couple problems, we didn't really have any integer rules there. Negative 14w plus 10. What is that? Negative 4w. And then I have negative 4w plus 2w. Good, so I would write negative 2w. So you just have to remember your integer rules along with it. And what's my last term?
Minus 11.
So what should I write as my answer?
Negative 2w minus 11.
Very good. Okay, let's go down to number 23. Yes.
Can you put negative 2w plus negative 11?
I would prefer you not, only because when we get to simplifying expressions, it's going to make it really difficult on you. having one sign makes your life a lot easier. It's not that it's wrong, okay? It's just it'll make it more difficult as we continue on, okay? Good question. Did that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
So it's still right. I will not mark it wrong. But it'll make it harder when we get onto harder concepts. So let's go to 23. What's the first term I should box in?
Negative 8x.
Now, is negative 2y the same as negative 8x?
No.
Good, those variables are different, so they are not the same. So what would I box in with the negative 8x?
Negative plus 3.
Good. Anything else?
No.
Nope. So negative 8x plus 23x, don't forget your integer rules, is? Is that a positive 15 or a negative 15? Good, it is a positive. What's the next term we should box in?
Negative 2y.
And?
Minus 6.
Same thing, do not forget your integer rules. Negative 2y minus 6y is? So if it's a negative 8y, what sign should I put here? A plus sign or a minus sign? So I don't want that plus a negative, even though that is correct. I want you to write just a minus sign. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, last one we're going to do together. Number 25. What's the first term I should box in?
9m.
What, everyone?
9m.
9m. What should I box in with 9m?
Plus M.
Plus m. Anything else?
No.
So 9m plus m is 10m. Don't forget there is a 1 in front of that m. A lot of students tend to forget that. What's the next term I should box in?
Negative 5n.
Negative 5n. What do I box in with the negative 5n?
Negative 2n.
Don't forget your integer rules. Negative 5n minus 2n is? Negative 7n. And what are the last terms that I should box in?
Plus 14 minus 7.
Plus 14 minus 7. So what is 14 minus 7? So do I write plus 7 or minus 7?
Plus.
Questions? Cooper.
On our assignment, would we have to do the boxing?
Let's do this. Yes to the boxing today, no to the boxing tomorrow. Sound like a plan?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?